Welcome to another encounter between ancient wisdom and modern life. So far, we have explored the universe through yin and yang. We have learned that everything that exists can be understood through polarities, movement and structure, interior and exterior, activity and rest. But there comes a moment when this vision is no longer enough. From duality to complexity, because reality is not just made of opposites, it is made of patterns. The ancient Chinese masters did not stop at theory. They observed nature, they observed the human body, they observed the cycles of life, and they began to perceive something deeper. Certain phenomena repeated themselves, certain characteristics grouped together, certain behaviors always emerged together. And that is how a new way of seeing the world was born. To this set of patterns they gave the name Wǔ Xíng, often translated as 5 elements, but a more precise translation would be 5 movements, 5 phases of transformation. Because we are not talking about substances, we are talking about dynamics, symbolic and hermetic language. When we say wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, we are not talking about physical objects, we are talking about a symbolic language. Mu, wood, represents growth and adaptation. Imagine a bamboo stalk in a storm. It does not survive by brute force, but by its elasticity. It adapts to the wind and returns to the center. If it is rigid, it breaks. If it is flaccid, it falls. But if it is elastic, it remains. 2. Earth represents nourishment and stability. It is the land of harvest, the land for sowing. It is that fertile soil that receives the seed, nourishes it, and allows the production of nutrients that sustain life. It is the center that gives stability and balance to the entire planet. Jin, metal, represents structure and order. It represents the hardest and deepest part of the earth. These are the minerals and metals that provide consistency and structure. It is that which does not break easily, offering resistance, rigidity, and an internal order that allows things to endure. Shui, water, represents depth and essence. For the Eastern mind, this is not the surface water of ocean waves. It is the water of the well, the underground and deep water. It is the essential moisture that comes from the depths to moisten the earth, ensuring it does not become arid. It is the silent vitality that lubricates life. Hua, fire, represents expansion and consciousness. Fire is like a bonfire in the middle of the dark and the cold. It brings light where there were shadows and heat where there was ice. It is the force of illumination, discernment, and elevation that makes the human being a superior animal. Each element is a group of information with its own characteristics, and here is the most important part. These patterns do not only exist in nature, they exist within us, in the physical body, in the mind, in the emotions. Therefore, when we speak of an imbalance in an element, we are not talking about something external. We are talking about an internal pattern that needs balance. In the context of health, these 5 elements manifest in 3 dimensions: the physical, the mental, and the emotional. If a patient presents contractures and muscle rigidity, their wood pattern has lost its elasticity. If they have lapses of memory or lack of concentration, their earth may not be providing the nutrients needed to sustain continuous thought. If there is a lack of will to live or a deep fear, the water of their innate vitality may be weakened. In treatment, our goal is not just to treat an isolated symptom, it is to identify which of these 5 patterns is in imbalance. It is vital that we understand something fundamental. We are speaking of a symbolic language. When a specialist in traditional Chinese medicine speaks of a wood imbalance, they do not mean the patient has pieces of wood in their body. They are referring to a pattern of functions that shares the characteristics of the image of wood. This is a hermetic language designed so that those who study the profound nature of things can communicate abstract concepts precisely. It is a coding by ideas, not just by words. To decipher this symbolism, we need to look at the images the masters chose to represent these 5 groups of information. By understanding this language, we can perceive what lies behind the patient's complaint. We are reading the internal alchemy of that person. We are reading not just the structure, but the process. We are reading not just the matter, but the continuous transformation. In the next videos, we will explore each of these elements in detail, starting with the first movement of life, wood, the beginning, the adaptation, the impulse to grow.